Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this session where we are going to be preparing for the full moon in Raidho. So Raidho is in the first 8 of the Elder Futh arc. So it's one of the sort of early emergent runes, let's say. And what we're looking at today with this full moon and the preparation for the full moon is thinking about Raidho as the rune of ritual, the rune of the road, the rune of rhythm. It's taking the steps that you need to take. And we are activating our magician selves through the full moon. I also would like to work with the magician self at the full moon. It's the part of us that can step into action, can shape the world, can be a change maker in the world. And we can do that with all of our different magics, our practical magics, out there in the world, and with our to-do lists, and with our energetic magics and our spiritual magics and our emotional magics as well. We're able to work in all of the different fields. As magical people, we're able to work on our inner landscapes to bring about change and transformation, on our outer landscapes as well. And I can see that people are joining. So welcome, everybody. Lovely that you're saying hello as you come into the chat box. So if you are here with me live, welcome. And I can see that people are excited about working with the magician today, which is lovely. If you're watching the recording, please do still sort of say hello in the comments and let me know, are you comfortable with working with the Raidho rune? Have you worked with it before? Some people can go say the Raidho rune, they can go, it's a bit boring. It's the sort of the rhythm. And after some of the other runes, the exciting runes, it can feel like a little bit almost flat in some way. And that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about in a moment. So how are you with the Raidho rune? Do you love it? Are you not sure about it? And how are you with your magician self, with your manifesting self, with the part of you that is the change maker in the world? How does that self feel to you? We had a wonderful conversation in the Rune Community Circle last night. We were looking at all of the different parts of the magical self and doing readings for those different parts. And we were talking about the way in which, as energetically aware, sensitive, empathic people, we can actually look to step back from the magician because we can see the shadow of the magician out there in the world so much. The part that shapes without thinking about consequences, that uses without thinking about consequences, that commodifies people and commodifies our planet. And that is the shadow of the magician. But if we avoid the magician, then we are not able to be change makers ourselves. We're not able to make our impact in the world because we're sort of paralyzed in some way. And this is very much some of the teachings that we're going to have through the course of this session, working with the Raidho rune. Let me find my Raidho rune here. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story, and you'll find this. Here we go. There's our lovely Raidho rune, really easy to remember because it looks like a capital R, from which R comes. And you'll see, I can't remember whether it's Elizabeth Gilbert or not. I think there's a number of different people who talk about this same thing. But I'd like you to imagine that on the planet, there's all sorts of fabulous people, like yourself, meandering about, doing your thing. And above, there are spirits. You might call them the genius. You might call them a muse. Northern tradition, we might call them a Valkyrie. And they are holding in their hands a purpose. This could be like an inspiration, something that they're like, this is supposed to be birthed into the world of Midgard, like our world, right now. And I'm looking out for the person who has the capacity and the desire and the receptivity to receive this idea and then to birth it into the world. And so they're sort of looking out and they see somebody and that person's all sort of glowy. There's a resonance, with this purpose. And they go down and they give the purpose to this person. Okay. And the person maybe they just have a little idea, a little eureka moment. Maybe they go on a shamanic journey, or they do a meditation, or they have a dream. Inspiration comes in this moment. And this for me is very much the space of the Ansus rune, which comes directly, I had to check that for a minute, before the Raidho rune. I don't know why I had a little hesitation there. I've been working with them for long enough. Because directly before the Raidho rune, I'm just going to find out Ansus rune here. Ansus is the rune of the voice of the divine speaking to us. It's the rune of inspiration and of communication and of ecstasy. Here we go. There's the Ansus rune. This is obviously the letter A comes from Ansus. And it's really exciting, that moment, when you go, oh, this could be possible. This could absolutely be possible for me. And you get all excited and you're like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And I don't know about you, but for some of us, particularly if you've got a high mystic self, those ideas are coming all of the time, absolutely all of the time. And sometimes I say to the gods, I'm like, why are you giving me so many? There's so many. And I've sort of had to accept that it's partially because I want to say yes to them, you know, and sometimes I have to say no. And it's partially because they do believe in me, and that's great. It's great to be believed in by your gods. But what can happen is we can have this moment of revelation. And Raidho comes after Ansus because Raidho is the thing that happens after revelation. And that's where becomes a bit more tricky. So yeah, Raidho's my life favorite. Oh, interesting. So tell me, Hannah, whether this resonates with you. So we have this moment of inspiration, this gateway moment when a Valkyrie, a muse, comes and speaks to us, and you have this wonderful moment. And what I'd like you to imagine is that until that point, you've been walking a road that you're quite familiar with. These are my routines. This is what I was planning for my day. This is what's going to be happening next month. These are the people that I know. This is my current network. This is my current capability. And that's your current soul road that you are following. And maybe we should draw a distinction here between, obviously, you have your actual soul road, which is the road that you are walking now. And then you have what we might call our resonant soul road, which is the road that aligns most strongly with our purpose. And obviously, for us as spiritual people, we're seeking to bring those two roads together as much as we can. It's one of the reasons that the birth rune is particularly good for working with that. And obviously, the reclaim retreats sort of help us to clear away if we're stuck on the wrong road, working with all of the runes. Really, I think that's really their sort of fundamental purpose at the end of the day, is to help us with this case. But we have a soul road. So you have a current soul road that you are traveling. And then this moment of inspiration comes. And what it does is it sort of shifts. And it goes, oh, if you want to bring this piece of inspiration forward, you're going to have to take a different road. And it might be marginally different. It might be quite a small shift, but it's still going to be a shift. It might be like I live on a town outside of the A1, which is the sort of Great North Road, or it's mainly the Great North Road. So the Romans created this really, really long road that comes all the way from London all the way up to Scotland. It's a really, really long road, and they made it as straight as possible. And the Great North Road was there originally, but it did sort of meander a little bit through some of the towns. Towns were built up around it, so it's slightly meandering. And then the A1 is superimposed on top of that. And what the A1 does is it circumnavigates a lot of the towns. And so you get these little sort of dips, I suppose, where the A1 goes straight on past a town, and what was the Great North Road meanders slightly and then comes back into the A1. And then you have roads that have yet to be built. So we're always sort of overlaying and saying, well, what course correction might I need to make? How might I need to change my soul road in order to actually make the shift that means that I will own that piece of inspiration, that thing that's mine, and say, yes, it's mine. I'm here to create this in the world. You might have to follow a path that's quite overgrown for a period of time that hasn't been used for ages, that you spot, that your seer self spots and said, oh, that's the way for me to get from this piece of inspiration into where I need to go. It might be that it's a totally unseen path, that it goes outside of the received norms of your current reality. In order to perform at this dance recital that I've seen needs to happen, that was going to be for charity, it's going to be a wonderful and amazing event, but I don't know how to do this dance. So I have to create a road where I learn this dance in order to fulfill on this charity event that I want to do to raise money, and it's going to be wonderful and it's going to be brilliant. But there are things that I need to do. And when we are in a place where we are very strongly connected to our magical self and we're listening to our runes, we might say, I'm going to do a reading to support me, to say, well, how do I travel this soul road? Then we're able to do that. And if we are very deeply connected with our magical self, as I've just said, we might say, oh, what does my seer self have to tell me about how I can turn that inspiration received from my mystic, and what do I actually need to do to bring that into my life? But what often happens is that we shut down, And I should say, first of all, just to say at the beginning, as I've mentioned, it might be that a muse comes along, a Valkyrie comes, flutters down, gives you this amazing inspiration, and it looks wonderful and it's brilliant. And then you feel in and you check in with your seer self. And your seer says, yes, that is brilliant and wonderful. But actually, I don't have the capacity for this because I'm still doing other things. Therefore, what can I do with it? Do I need to give it back to the Valkyrie? Do I need to say, I'll give this back to the gods? Or is it that actually my job is to go and tell somebody else about this idea and that they'll take it on, they'll activate their magician and take it on? Sometimes your role isn't to manifest the whole idea, the whole inspiration. You're a keeper of some of that road. Your job is literally just to move it on. So that's one of the things that your seer might say to you is actually, I can move this through. But let's say that it gets stuck in your system. How many people, let me know, how many people have got a load of ideas that you're like, oh, I've got loads of creative projects and I've got this what I want to do and I've got that I want to do and I want to go on this trip and I want to do that. And I wrote this in my diary at one point and I've got this on the to-do list. How many people have got things that are stuck? You know, that they're just sort of stuck and they're sitting there and you're not moving forward with them, is the question that I'll ask you. For me, everyone knows this. Mine is the writing of the book or the many books. I want to write many books. And this is the problem. I don't start with one because I've got so many of them. We can get like a backlog, can't we? So what can happen is it can literally be an absence of capacity. And this is where knowledge of your magician self is all important. It's understanding your own energy cycles. It's understanding the way in which you create, the way in which you manifest, what works well for you. Recognizing that in the modern world, our models of productivity do not work for magical people. It's one of the reasons why the magician retreat for me was really important. And actually why I undertook about 5 years of trainings that I bring in to the magician retreat, because I realized that, burnout, overwhelm, energetic disconnect, all of those things were being caused by the fact that we were working with a shadow of the magician, not the empowered magician. So we have to be able to understand ourselves and understand our own capacity. And when you know all of these techniques, your capacity, expands exponentially. It really, really does. But we can't use the models that are given to us. They do not work for us. These sort of very push, competitive models don't work for magical people. They don't work for energetically sensitive people. And so that's one of the things that can happen, is that we take something on and we say yes, because we go, oh, the gods have given me this, and it's important. That's really important. Your healer self might go, oh, it's absolutely vital to do in the world, and if I don't do it, who will? Anyone had that before? I don't do it, who will? I'll take it on because it's really important, and I don't trust that anybody else will do it. And that's the healer self, but that's the shadow of the healer self working. And so I must take this on. So we can, in the moment of yes, we can do that because of the shadow of the magical self. The sage might say, well, that looks really interesting. I want to learn this. And even though I'm already learning 3 different languages and I'm reading about 1,000 books, I absolutely must buy this book as well, and have it on my shelf. And at some point I will read it because the sage wants to acquire learning. And again, that's the shadow of the sage, because it's not the job of the sage just to acquire learning. It is to express it out into the world. And you can get indigestion, literal knowledge indigestion, if we try to take on too much. As I've mentioned, the seer might go, oh, a little bit of FOMO we can sometimes get as well, with our seer selves, that I want to believe that I'm the sort of person that can do this, and so this will work for me. So there's lots of reasons why, when the mystic presents a gateway moment, a moment for initiation, a moment of revelation, we might say yes when we should say no. So this is our first hurdle, is to sort of say, okay, there's a road, it's exciting. Is it mine? No, is it mine? Do I actually have the capacity to achieve this in some way? And let's see what people have said. I have the many books too. I will say I'm stuck. I was 5 years ago and burnt out. I don't have a visa in Denmark, and it's in America here on tourist permit. And and obviously we can have literal constraints on what we can achieve and what we cannot. I'm working with a group at the moment where there are some really big constraints to them actually achieving what they want to achieve, and actually feeling back into our power and saying, what's my capacity and my capability? What's available to me right now? That means that I can walk the path of the magician and claim my soul road, recognizing that as long as we're walking it, new vistas will open up eventually. But if we get stuck and we're not walking it, then those new vistas stay. So yes, recognizing not just our capacity, but also our capability and what we can actually achieve, what's realistic, is very much a sort of partnership with the sage and the mystic self, and the magician self there, I should say. Do you have a ton of ideas in general? I'm a crafty person, love getting ideas. It's my favorite thing, actually. Probably got a high mystic there. I have a high mystic. Having capacity, very resonant, saying no. That's what I'm working with. Yes. And so if your magical self is feeling empowered, then your seer will go, no, that's not right. Or your sage will say, no, actually, if I do a pros and cons list, no, that's not right for me right now. Or the healer self might go, I can see that this is really important, but let's go and find some support for this. Is really an empowered way of working through that gateway moment. Then we've got I've said yes. Maybe I've said yes for the wrong reasons, not quite sure. Maybe I've said yes for the right reasons, and I'm totally committed to this. But now you have to walk the road. And this is where Raidho comes in, and it says, this is the power of Raidho is what happens after the revelation moment. It is that moment of reweaving your soul road to accommodate your new intention, to accommodate the new purpose that you are bringing into your life. And it's not an easy thing to do, because for most of us, our soul road was pretty full anyway, when it started. So you might need to say no to other things in order to make room for this new thing that you want to have in your life. But what can happen is that, again, thinking about the magical self, we can undermine ourselves as we start to walk that road. So tell me if any of these resonate with you. So what can happen is we can go, oh, this sounds amazing and this is wonderful and I really want to do it. And then we get stuck in sage energy, because we get stuck in, I'm not ready. I need to learn more. I need to get more information in order to do this. And obviously, absolutely, sometimes a new project, that is the first step. But it's the motivation. So feeling in and sort of saying, what's the motivation for my sage self being activated right now? Is it to protect me, by meaning that I just stay in the learning and the information gathering stage and I never actually step into magician? Or is it saying, yes, my sage is coming to help my magician self now to actually make change? So that can happen. We can get the perfectionist comes up quite a lot. I'm going to learn more. I'm going to read more. I'm going to study more. I'm going to journal. I'm going to do all of the things. And I'm not actually going to do the thing. It means we get stuck in sage energy. Yes, I've got a hand up there. We can get stuck in sage energy. So let me know if we can get stuck in sage energy. Okay. The seer self, regardless of the fact that the seer self is brilliant at discerning and saying, yes, this feels good. The seer self is holds our inner landscape. And so the seer self will notice, this feels unfamiliar. This feels uncomfortable. I'm feeling excitement, but it feels like fear to me, particularly if we've had situations in the past where we've been right to feel fear, or we've been burnt in the past, because that sense of opening up to something new, of taking the unseen path, of taking the overgrown path, of taking a mini risk in many ways, which is what our seer is designed to help us to do, is to take those mini risks. But when we've been wounded, our seer will seek to protect us from that. And we'll say, oh, I'm getting signals that this is uncomfortable, so I'm going to stop. And that's the self-preservation bit. And this comes back to capacity and capability a little bit, sort of saying, okay, do I have the resilience at this point to take something else on? And do I have the support to do that, so that I can walk this road and be comfortable with being uncomfortable? This is your own discomfort right now about going, oh, I'm having to shed a skin. I'm having to do something different. I'm having to change. A lot of people, I got Issa for my seer self yesterday, because I actually need a lot of stability, because I've shed skins incredibly fast over the last few months. An incredible amount of change. And my seer is now saying, I need stillness. I absolutely need stillness. I need anchoring. I need to slow down, and be present, because I've been moving at sort of, 100 miles an hour to allow this great change to happen. And now I need to slow down. But what can happen is that we can get stuck in that place of ice, with the Issa rune. So if you do a reading for yourself and you get the Issa rune with your seer self, it's that sort of sense of, is this something that's needed, or is this a warning for me that needs to come through? Excitement, fear, yes, they feel the same in the body. Imposter syndrome comes through. It's been nasty in the past as well. And imposter syndrome is there as a protective mechanism created by the ego, which your seer looks after. It's your seer's capability to help you to let go of that, to say, what is it that I need to do? And you might need some support to do that. I do a lot of work with clients to release, as just many coaches and many energy workers, to release those old parts of the self, the armor, the armor that we put on to protect ourselves when we feel that change is coming. So the seer can absolutely sort of like what's almost like that sort of tension, and you close in rather than opening out. You go, oh yes, that's exciting, and then you feel something and you go, I don't like it, and you sort of come back in like an anemone, and it's that sense of saying, okay, am I able to open again and move forward, or am I going to get stuck here? Your healer, on the other hand, might say, oh, might upset other people. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to change people's image of who I am. I'm going to ask them difficult questions. I'm going to ask them to contribute to this in one way or another. And your healer self, if they are in shadow, if they've been wounded in some way, if they are depleted in some way, will resist at all costs upsetting other people, and will form so many barriers to you successfully manifesting, your change that you want to bring into the world. And then finally, we've got the mystic. And this is very important for that. I mean, I take this on board. The mystic goes, it was so exciting getting a new idea, and I loved it so much, and I want another new idea. I'm going to just go back into the mystic because it's really uncomfortable going through this process of my seer and my sage and everything, and getting into the space of the magician and actually making the change. And so we reactivate our mystic and we go, I'm ready for another idea because that feels good. And it feels good to have more ideas. And then obviously we end up carrying a whole load of unmanifested projects on our back that the mystics received. And then you have to go back to square one and say, okay, before I receive any further revelations, what do I do with the ones that I'm carrying already? Do I manifest them? Do I bring them into the world? Do I let go of them in some way? Do I give them back to spirit, or do I give them to somebody else? Is where we need to go. Yeah, and I think that you're right there. I think this is about upsetting others can be so deep and hidden. It can be hard to notice in oneself. It absolutely can, because it feels like it's coming from a good place. We are taught, probably of all of the different parts of the magical self, the sage, the overexpressed sage, who just is in perpetual learning and repeating, and has been sort of educated to believe that when you get your certificate and you're told that you're okay, then you're allowed. The sage is gatekeeper, preventing us from stepping into our power fully. We move into the place where we censor ourselves. That's allowed in our society. And the healer who overgives and overgives and overgives and overgives all of the time, that's allowed. And because we are energetically aware, we can feel that permission, and we think that that's right, but that does not. That creates an uncomfortable soul road for us, where we are much more likely to be in discomfort all of the time, to be close to burnout all of the time, to be sick all of the time, to be taken for granted by others all of the time, because that's the soul road that we're creating for ourselves. And I say that knowing that, I did it for years and I still do it now. All of these gateway moments, and they will come in your life, and sometimes you will choose them, and sometimes they'll just come anyway because it's part of your path. Damn it. They will all shape us in one way or another, and we can create that positive spiral as we say, okay, what do I choose? So what we're really doing at this full moon is celebrating our ability to choose our own soul road, and to recognize that we can do that sort of incrementally, and that there are moments of choice every day around where am I going to put my energy? Am I a gateway moment? What have I said yes to? What have I said no to? What might I need to say no to now? And then creating the new road ahead. This is very much about self-awareness. And I think this is sometimes missed with Raidho, because it's sort of that sense of like that rhythm and that walking and like the drum that you're following. But it's sort of saying, if we're following the magician path and we're looking at the full moon energy with Raidho, it's recognizing that you are the drummer. So you are the drummer of your own soul road. You are creating that rhythm all of the time. And that can be frightening for us, because it can be We can go, oh, well, I'm not enjoying my soul road like right now. And it's easier to say somebody else created this. And to a certain extent, that's always going to be true. Certainly not the case that everyone else is perfect and brilliant out there in the world and you're the only one doing a pants job. There are lots and lots of people doing a really pants job all around us all of the time, trying to follow their own soul roads, getting it horribly wrong, all of those things. And we are impacted by those. And I think that's important to recognize. We don't build our soul roads alone. But we are the primary person responsible for our soul road. So bringing that sense of awareness is about taking responsibility. And I think Raidho is really important for this, for that. It's that sense of responsibility and sovereignty that comes through with the Raidho rune, where we say, I am willing to walk this path. And every step that I take, I choose to root down into the earth as I do so. I choose to course correct if I need to. I choose to be present in what I'm doing rather than thinking about something else as I'm sort of walking along. So it's being present and mindful within us is what we're really looking at for the course of this full moon. Yeah, responsibility it's the ability to respond. And that's what Raidho is teaching us. And it's a little bit like, again, if you think about, I've talked about the shadow of the magical self, but each of the runes has its shadow side and its, I don't want to say light side. To me, that feels wrong because there is so much power in the shadow when we face it. So we can walk along following somebody else's rhythm with our eyes shut, just walking the road. And we can gain some comfort from that, by shutting down all of those different parts of our awareness, Or we can walk our soul road with our eyes open, drumming as we go, choosing our own rhythm, and also being open to the possibility that the soul road that we're walking now is not the soul road that we're going to be walking in a year's time or in 5 years' time. And that it is within our capacity to make fundamental changes to the soul road that we're walking now, incrementally, not by going, right, I'm going to drop everything. I'm going to, I need to win the lottery in order to do this. And then I can turn my life around. It's actually saying, no, when I make a small, subtle change with every step that I take, what's not possible in 5 years' time? What's not possible in 5 years' time? So having that awareness about the soul path is really incredibly important. I can see that there's some people sort of saying, well, how would I go about doing that? So if you wanted to work with me on that, obviously most of my programs will reveal soul path to you in one way or another. So if you're working with on Awaken, you're learning how to do your readings and how to work with the runes as partners as we're doing right now. So that's sort of practitioner path that will unveil some aspects of the soul road. For me, the birth runes are the really powerful place where you sort of get to look under your own hood and feel that sort of energetic resonance and claim your compass, I suppose, that sort of keeps pulling you towards your soul road is with your birth runes. And then the reclaim retreats are working with activating each part of the magical self so that you can actually take action on the soul road when you say, oh, I've noticed this pattern about myself. My seer, and I've activated my seer, so I've got more noticing capacity. And then I've activated my healer and I've worked with those wounds so that I don't find it so difficult to go against what other people want of me. I've activated my magician self so that I can actually bring change into the world. So they're all slightly different, but they all contribute to that sense of our ability to align the soul road that we are walking with the soul road that is ours. That is the most resonant with who you are. And that will evolve and change over time. I don't personally believe, let me know what your thoughts are. I do believe that there are some things, I do believe in soul contracts to a certain extent, that we can sort of say, yes, there are things that I've come here to do. And that, you want to be walking the soul road that allows you to fulfill those and allows you to fulfill those positively, because we can all fulfill our soul contracts in a really negative, uncomfortable way as well. Anybody ever felt like that? They've gone, that felt inevitable and deeply, deeply uncomfortable. Yeah. Something I'd like to be able to, fulfill my soul contracts in a way that feels empowering for all parties. That would be good. So I do believe in that. We would call that orlog in the northern tradition. But I also believe that as we evolve, our compass direction, our soul road, our resonant soul road, evolves with us as well. So it's a continual motion towards that. So let me know, for those of you who are here, we did readings in the community rune circle, so I'm not going to do lots of readings, but if you've got a rune that you're working with at the moment and you would like a little bit of a heads up on how your rune works with soul road, works with your soul road, let me know. And what you can do as a reading, and absolutely, if you want to have a reading done, you just come in touch, and I do those as part of my True North packages. I can do readings. You can do a reading that looks at your current soul road and looks at your resonant soul road and sort of draws them together. That's absolutely one you can do, which you can design for yourself, or you can get a rune reader to do that for you as well. Also, look, obviously, I've got all of my practitioner community that you can find on my website too. I am not the only reader out there by any means. Suzanne, you've got Northers today. And for me, that that really speaks of a need fire moment. It's not just that your resonant soul road is calling. It's almost saying that there's like a need fire on the path in front of you on your current soul road that is drawing your attention and saying there are new possibilities available for you. So it's that's what I'm feeling, is literally a burning need fire that you have that's on the path in front of you. And with it, what I'm really seeing with that is it's that sense of needing to sit with the need fire, because it's very bright, very, very bright. And it almost needs to die down so that you bring your night awareness. I've talked about this in other sessions before, so I'm just going to cover this very briefly, that sometimes in the full light of day, we can't see our resonant soul roads because we're only being driven by the guiding light of the sun, which tends to support us on the sort of like the current path. And we can do this, or it resonates with our soul essence, so it can help us to a certain extent. But sometimes we need to wait. You need to wait for the fire to die down so that you can receive its wisdom. And you can spend some time with the night sky and then go, oh, there's the road. There's the new road that's calling me. So there's a little bit about patience there that I'm feeling, which is very Raidho as well. Raidho will counsel patience when it needs to. Hannah saying, I just pulled Raidho as well. Double Raidho. So for you, that's interesting, Hannah. I mean, I would suggest for you that it might be worth doing a reading for yourself that's about, take a theme. Don't try and do like whole life thing. Take a theme. So you might choose health, or you mentioned burnout, I think, earlier. So you might choose that, and you might say, okay, what does my current soul road have to teach me about the theme that I've chosen? You could choose wealth. You could choose anything you want to do, relationships. What is my current soul road teaching me? And what does my resonant soul road want me to learn? So you can draw 2 runes and see how those are different. And it might be that question of sort of saying, okay, I need to internalize the lesson of the current soul road first, because we can't carry too many things on our back. So what's the lesson that my current soul road is trying to teach me? And what then is the teaching that my resonant soul road would want? So you could draw 2 runes in order to have a more nuanced reading for yourself. So have a little tread. I can dread Raidho when I pull it because I don't want to move. I want to stay where I am. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? So when you get that feeling of I want to stay where I am, it's often actually getting into movement in your body can help with that. If we're working with our seer selves, it's not about saying, oh, I need to go outside and I need to do this or I need to do that. It's literally getting movement in the body. So it might be playing some music and then allowing yourself to do like micro movements to start to ease whatever it is. That's a big topic there, Hannah, but you are not alone. It's very, very common for us to feel as if a lot of energy has sort of accrued within our systems. We can be aware of how much work it might be to actually start to move it and to shift it. And it can be difficult, but it can also be obviously that the world is moving so fast around you and you think, I want to put the brakes on. And that's a strong instinct for so many of us now, isn't it? To sort of say, oh, if I could, I would slow everything down. And it's saying, okay, what's the rhythm that feels comfortable for me? So if you've got your drum, you might get your drum out and do some really sort of slow drumming. And just allow yourself every now and then to speed up slightly and go, oh, when does it get too much? When does it get too much? And when do I dial back? So you don't sit fully in silence. You play your drum until you find the rhythm that works for you, and you say, that's my rhythm. Doesn't mean I'm not moving, but it means that's my rhythm. So, if anybody, a lot of what I'm covering here really is things that I would do with people in one-to-one sessions. We'd be looking at inner rhythm, and we would be looking at soul road. Obviously, you can have your birth runes done through the True North sessions as well. So lots of different ways in which you can say, okay, I'm going through an initiatory moment, and I need some support to really draw that in, bring that in. Okay, we have come to the end of the session, everybody. So I hope that this has helped you to prepare for the full moon coming up. Obviously, for members of Sooner Star Wheel, I'm just finalizing the full moon Raidho meditation. So that will be coming up shortly. It's all done. I just need to check that the sound is all working and everything properly. So that will come up for you. So that will give you an opportunity to feel into what the Raidho rune is offering you personally. It's a lunar meditation rather than a solar meditation. So the solar meditations tend to be, this is the energy of the rune, that you are receiving. The lunar sessions are much more about how the rune is speaking to you and what it wants you to receive. So have a play with that. You've got your story session is in Sooner Star Wheel as well. Obviously, we've had the community rune circle for this month, but there will be another one next time too. And yes, if you feel like I need some support, please do reach out, because I do have some spaces at the moment in my private client space. So this is a good time to reach out. Lots of love to you. Have a wonderful week ahead. Enjoy the full moon when it comes. And remember that you get to claim your own rhythm. Fast, slow, a mix of the two. Absolutely allowed. To sometimes I really want to travel fast. Sometimes I really want to travel slow. Both are absolutely fine. Okay, everybody. Lovely to see you all. And please remember that if you have enjoyed this session, the most helpful thing that you can do for me is to comment, like it, and share it with other people. Thank you so much, darlings. Bye.